A company director assumes a particular position and a level of responsibility in the running of a company. In the United Kingdom, we refer to companies as limited. In the US, they're called LLCs. I'm going to be focusing mostly on the UK here, but a lot of the points that I'm referring to are applicable not just to the US, but other countries around the world that have got corporate entities. In this week's video, I'm going to outline what a company director is, what their key responsibilities are. We're going to comment on what's called a NED, which stands for non-executive director, and comment as to why a non-executive director plays a particular role of importance within the company itself. Hi folks, my name is Mahmood. I'm a business finance fixer and owner of the firm and book of the same name, I Hate Numbers. My mission over the last 28 plus years has been helping business owners like yourself make more money, increase their financial literacy, reduce their tax, reduce their stress, and have the business they aspire to. And who wouldn't want that for their business? Shall we get on with the video? Why not? Now, a company director is a legal position with a company, and predominantly they are responsible for running the organisation, running the company, being responsible for safeguarding the assets of the company and making sure that all governance and rules are complied with. Otherwise, our friends at Companies House and HMRC will not be particularly happy. Companies House, by the way, folks, is the regulatory body, the statutory body that is responsible for company administration, for making sure that things are complied with as best as possible. Now, what's the main criteria? What are the main qualifications to be a company director? Well, they are as follow as far as the UK is concerned. Number one, you've got to be 16 plus. You can be resident overseas, by the way, but you must have a UK registered address for you to be able to qualify. You mustn't be a bankrupt. You mustn't be a disqualified director, so you've been naughty somewhere else and you've been disqualified. If you act as a director in that situation, or what's called a shadow director, you're acting behind the shield, then that's a definite no-no. A company, as a bare minimum, normally only needs one director. And directors now, let's have a look at what their main responsibilities are. I alluded earlier on in the video that they are responsible for the effective management and operation of the company. They are the ones who are the senior decision makers. Minimum criteria normally for companies is to have at least one director. If you happen, by the way, to have a company that operates in the arts sector, in the not-for-profit sector, it may be that your rules of governance, like funders, requires you to have more than one director. So we've got the main qualifying criteria, 16 plus, resident in the United Kingdom, or certainly have an address that's resident in the UK. You can be based overseas, and you are responsible for making those key decisions and operational decisions of the company. Now, it should be said, by the way, you can be an owner in your company if you've got shares, but not necessarily a director, and a director is not necessarily a shareholder. Those two roles are completely separate. Certainly for most privately owned businesses, the shareholder, the owners of the company, and the directors are one of the same. But that is not actually an essential requirement. Now, the key thing to remember is directors are the ones who make those decisions. For example, how much dividend should be declared. So if you're running a private company, one way to reward yourself is through the appropriation of dividends. It's the director's decision to make that choice as to how much, whether it's within legal requirements and frameworks. The shareholder has no legal right to actually make that decision for themselves. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video something called a non-executive director. Now, within the rules and regulations of the Companies Act, there is no distinction, by the way, between a non-executive and a full director. So if you are a non-executive director, or you're thinking of appointing a non-executive director to your board, it still has to be registered at Companies House. Now, I just want to give a brief outline to a non-executive director. I want to talk about that in much more detail in a future I Hate Numbers video. Well, a non-executive director is an addition to a company. I myself act as a full director for some companies, and I'm a non-executive director for other companies as well. So as a non-executive director, you don't have responsibility for executive decision-making, i.e. you're not involved in the day-to-day operational matters of the organisation. You're there to give some outside scrutiny, to help input and develop strategy, to make sure all the governance structures are in place, and it provides a very challenging but robust framework to input into a company's future, to question decisions that are actually made, but you're not there, you don't have the time, that's not your role to get involved in the day-to-day decision making. Having said that, you've still got to be registered, certainly, legally speaking, at Companies House, but your roles and responsibilities are different to that of a full director. Non-executives have a very active role to play in the running of organisations, and again, they can give that outside scrutiny, they can give that input, they can give that advice, and it's very common, certainly for larger organisations, to have a non-executive cohort that makes up the composition of their board of directors. Still required to attend those board meetings, certainly highly recommended, read the papers and take part in that active decision making as well. Now folks, just as a last couple of things to conclude on, to think about, is a director, as I said, has that legal responsibility to make sure that the company's assets are safeguarded, well looked after. They are ultimately responsible for the conduct of the company itself. There's no necessarily any legal, in terms of financial liability, put upon a director's shoulder unless they give a personal guarantee to a bank or a funder or a lender. It's a very serious role. There are administrative requirements imposed by Companies House. So for example, when you change directors, you must inform Companies House within the statutory framework. When you remove directors, make sure you've got the powers in your constitution, your articles, to actually do such things. If not, technically speaking, you're in breach of the Companies Act. For many years, for all the companies that we look after, we make sure all the paperwork that's necessary is there to support that. Make sure you do that for your own company. Don't treat it as a sole trader, self-employed business, because it's clearly not that role. So folks, I hope you found this video useful. Hope it's given you some good insights to what a director's role is, who can be a director, the key responsibilities, and thinking about a non-executive director, whether that's one's going to be suitable for you, whether yourself as an individual wish to become a non-executive director. I'm going to deal more of that in a future I Hate Numbers video. Until then, folks, I'll see you on the other side.